We are going to be going over something really exciting today, and we're going to be going over lacquer. A lot of you don't know, but my history for the last 27 years, yes, I was a mere child. I was manufacturing furniture, and one of the things that we loved doing on our furniture as far as a finish was a nitrocellulose lacquer. Unfortunately, you would have to have this big rig. We were working in 5-gallon containers. We had to have a very expensive spray rig, basically, to be able to spray the lacquer in multiple layers on a piece of furniture. And that was on furniture that we were manufacturing, so it really wasn't that big of a problem because we were making it from scratch. But here, when we started transitioning over into DIY or do-it-yourself, a lot of people wanted that same beautiful lacquer look on maybe a pair of chairs that they had had in their family for a long time. The only way you could get that was if you took it to an automotive store and you would say, I want you to lacquer these 2 pieces for me, and you would have to pay upwards of $400 a chair to be able to get them lacquered. You don't want to spend that, especially if you were curbside shopping, especially if it was free, or if you went shopping in your attic. So I knew that people were wanting that same look that I had on my furniture on their pieces. So we decided to put a nitrocellulose lacquer, and that's an important term, in a can for you to be able to get that same look yourself. There is not another product on the market like the Amy Howard at Home lacquer. It is not like a regular spray paint. That's really, really important that people understand the differences. And I've got somebody here that's going to be showing me and you how to spray the lacquer on an actual piece of furniture. We're going to get to that in just a minute. But what you need to know is, one, the versatility of it. Kind of the reason of the nitrocellulose lacquer or the lacquer is because I want you to be able to have a bright pop of color. Usually in lacquers, those colors are really, really strong. They're really intense, which is very much the trend right now. You can use it on these rescued and restore pieces, and it allows you to be able to use it not only on furniture, but you can use it on ceramic tiles. You can use it on metal. You can use it on glass that you see, like on this lamp that I rescued. You can use it on a lot of different surfaces to be able to change how you decorate your home. I love getting ceramic lamps and brass lamps, metal lamps, and lacquering those lamps for a pop of color. It looks amazing. Now, I wanted to show you the before. You probably saw this earlier on our Facebook Live announcement about this mirror, but look at it before. I got this at an estate sale for hardly anything, and a lot of people don't like this particular style mirror anymore because it's kind of colonial, it's very traditional, it's early American. But with a bright pop of color, look how fabulous it is. Jean, so I wanted you to see how it looks with a bright pop of color done in our Brisson red that I did on top of our black and white chinoiserie paper. I just love it. But look how it started out. The only sad thing about it is it had that sweet little piece of inlay there that I had to cover up. But I enjoyed it so much. Actually sold that house, and the people that bought it loved the fact that it was an all white and black bathroom with just a pop of color. So you can definitely do that when you start to go to estate sales this weekend. You know, the other thing is that we wanted to give people an opportunity to be able to use the lacquer on furniture as well as glass. I want to show you an image here. This is a cabinet that I have here in the studio, and if you will stay tuned with us in about 2 weeks, I'm going to show you how to be able to get this look of detailed pattern on glass with the lacquer. But this whole piece was done in our white lacquer, and then I did a pattern from behind on the glass itself. So there's 3 things that you're going to have though if you're going to do a great looking lacquer project. You're going to need our primer, which this is a kind of like it's called a sanding sealer. It will prime the surface for you to be able to get ready for your lacquer. And then you'll choose your color, which this is the most fun part. And you're going to need to have probably 3 to 4 coats of your lacquer. And Jean's going to tell us more about that. And then you want to have your bright idea, which is your top coat. So you want to make sure that you protect it. A lot of people don't realize, because when you're working with lacquer, it's a very high gloss finish. It's going to be very easy to scratch. So you want to make sure that you seal it really well with our bright idea. It's also going to increase the depth of it, and it's going to make it have that much more of a beautiful sheen. So the other thing that I want you to make sure that you do before we go over here and we start actually lacquering a piece of furniture is you've got to clean it first. If you're not familiar with our clean slate, this is something that needs to go in your DIY pantry. And I don't want this to turn into a commercial for product. I want to be able to teach you on these Finish Fridays. But here's the deal. We only are going to have a great looking finish by the preparation and the finishing up of what we're doing. And a lot of people, they rush in and they lacquer a piece because they love the color, it's instant gratification, and they don't make sure that it's cleaned properly, and they don't make sure that it's sealed properly. So let's make sure that we do that. I also want to show you a couple of pieces of furniture that we've lacquered to kind of get your mind going and to see how fun it is. And then Jean's going to show us how to actually how to lacquer a fun little Walmart table. So come look over here. All right, so this was a chair that I got from a garage sale. It was just an old piece. I got a pair of them that you would find at any garage sale that was a lawn chair, and I lacquered it. You can use lacquer outside if you want. Now, because it's not as hardy a finish as the one-step paint, it probably would be good that you had it like under a porch, something where it's protected from the elements, but I did paint it in the one-step paint. And remember this little bench, I showed you this last week when we were working on our gilding. It's lacquered. See the sheen from it? I want you to know that when you are working in your home and you're decorating, you're going to have a mix of finishes. So you're going to have some of your pieces in your home that are going to be an old world Toscana. You're going to have some pieces that are maybe just nice and clean and have a little bit of gilding stripe on it with the one-step paint. But then you might have a lamp, or you might have a side table or something that's going to be a pop of color. All of these things together is what makes a room a beautiful room. It's layering of texture and color and fun. And it's really, it's great the fact that we can have fun with a little bit of color and we're not hugely committed to it forever because maybe it's a piece that you're rescuing and restoring. So, all right, so without further ado, we want to show you, are there any questions? This is live on Friday. This is Central Standard Time. So if you are watching and you have a question about it, please feel free to ask and we can answer them right now. Are we okay with questions? Send me some love, guys. I don't think we have any so far. I want to know that that you love these Finish Fridays, that you're learning a lot, and that we'll continue to bring these to you. So, all right, so as many of you know, I have worked with my husband now for 27 years. We rescued furniture and we restored it together, and so he is he's an expert, you might say, about lacquering, and I want him to walk us through what actually lacquering a piece of furniture is going to be like. So come with me over here.
We do have a couple of questions.
Okay. Yes.
How many cans for a chair like the one that you showed?
You can easily paint that chair probably with one can. As far as square footage, out of one can, it's about 35 square feet. It's about 20. I'm so sorry. I'm thinking about another can. It's about 20 to 25 square feet. So if you're going to be lacquering something, it is about layering. It's about getting a lot of layering and depth, and we're going to talk with that a little bit more with Jean. So Jean, come on over and walk us through this this table that we're going to be lacquering today. Tell our viewers what's the difference between our Amy Howard at Home Nitrocellulose Lacquer and just a regular can of spray paint.
Okay. between like the acrylic or the enamels, the nitrocellulose lacquer is different because one, it's a little harder once it cures. The other thing is that when you spray a new coat on top of an old coat of nitrocellulose, they will meld. It will actually meld into one another so that it flows out better. It gets a more depth in the finish. So it's just but it is a different animal in how it's applied. You can't just spray it on like spray paint. There is a technique
Or
to it.
hairspray.
And so, and that's what I want to show you with this. This is a great example to work with. Amy had talked about the primer. The primer being a sanding sealer, which is just a thicker, softer lacquer. And the reason you want to use a primer is to, one, if the wood is unfinished, to seal it. So the primer will seal it so that it doesn't absorb so much lacquer. The other reason you would use it if the piece is a little grainy. Maybe it's got a finish, but it's oak, it's grainy, and the lacquer is going to follow the contour of that grain, so it's going to be grainy looking as well. So that will also seal that with the primer. So that's the reason you want to use the primer. Now this piece has been sealed already. It's fairly smooth, it's not grainy, so we won't have to use the primer on this. So the first thing we want to do is we want to clean the piece with Clean Slate, which I believe has
Already been done.
Second, I'm going to use some sandpaper. You want to have some sandpaper that's no coarser than 320 grit. The smaller the number, the coarser the grit. So 320 would be the coarsest grit you'd want. Or you can use 400. 400 is even smoother. So it's just up to you, 320 or 400. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to lightly sand the piece because the smoother the surface is before you start lacquering, the smoother the lacquer is. And you want smooth because smooth deals with light refraction and giving you a glossier finish. And so everything needs to stay smooth. So I would just go around and just lightly sand everything, which I believe y'all have done already, but just for the sake of washing.
And a lot of people get confused and they start saying, well, with your one-step paint, you say there's no sanding, there's no priming. We're not using the one-step paint. This is an aerosol can of nitrocellulose lacquer, and it's about getting a beautiful, brilliant color that's very high sheen. So it's a great mix with the pieces that you're going to be using in your home, like we've shown you with lacquering a mirror or ceramic tiles or a lamp, whatever. Are there any questions? Are we good? We're good? All right. We're here to educate you guys. So if you have questions, just let us know.
Okay, then once we've done that light sanding, then I'm just going to go back. I want to get rid of all of the little dust particles from the sanding, because if I don't, those dust particles will be in my lacquer and it's not going to give you that smooth, slick look. It's going to have little particles in it, and it's going to look like you were doing the lacquer in a sandstorm. So you notice we also built this little spray booth. One, this will keep the overspray from getting on the floor, on the walls. Also, it will keep the wind. Sometimes you want to do this in the garage, you want to do it outside, and this blocks the wind because the biggest deterrent to this is overspray. And overspray is caused by many different things. We're going to be using the begonia today. And you want to shake it good for about a minute. And what we want to do, we want to start with the top and work our way down. That allows the overspray to fall away from the fresh lacquer. If I worked myself going up, that overspray would be falling into the fresh lacquer, and it's going to create overspray. That overspray is going to end up being like little sand particles.
And that's one of the biggest issues that people will say while their finish is not as bright, while it's not as brilliant. And it's because they've gotten overspray from it, and that fine little particle will make it where that finish looks flatter.
And also when your application, if I'm too far away or if I'm moving the spray can too quickly and not allowing the lacquer to lay evenly and getting a good coat, then that'll also create overspray because you're getting more propellant than you are the lacquer. So we want to make sure that we're about 6 to 8 inches from the surface, and then we're going to do it in a uniform manner so that we're always going to be on a flat horizontal surface. We are going to be moving forward because that keeps the overspray away from the fresh lacquer. If I start ahead of myself and work backwards, we're throwing overspray into the fresh lacquer. So on something like this, I'm going to go around and get this edge first, because if I if I spray the top then the edge, what's going to happen? Overspray. Yes. We're going to be throwing overspray on it. So first thing we'll do.
Now, as a rule, guys, you do need to wear a dust mask for this. But we are having to talk to you, so we can't wear a dust mask. And it's best if you work on this in a garage where you've got a well-ventilated area.
So you see I've got
Emily's getting excited about her table already, Jane.
You notice that there's still not full coverage. You can see the other color, the surface, the original color coming through. That's okay. I know it's going to take 2 coats, maybe 3, because if I apply too much, what's going to happen?
It's going to
We're
run.
going to get runs. If you get a run, that's okay.
Leave it alone while it's wet.
Let it dry 30 minutes to an hour, and then you can lightly sand that run back out. So we've got that first coat on that edge.
Are you going to work your way down, or are you going to go in and come on and do the top?
I'm going to go ahead and do the top now. And watch how we're going to do this. I'm starting closest to me, and I'm going to work away from me. 6 to 8 inches. Notice that I'm doing overlapping.
Can I also point out something else, Jane? How he's stopping. See where he literally lets up off it. Now, lets up again. Presses it down, lifts up again. So it's a off and on. It's not pressing down and just spraying it all over like us women have a tendency to do with hairspray. So it's a very methodical, look at the sheen on that. I know it's wet, but guys, this is what it's going to stay like. It's so much fun. So much fun.
And then on this, because it's round, it's not just a flat surface, we're having to work all the way around. You're wanting to always leave a wet edge.
That's real important.
Because if I try to just spray this one side or one half of the round turning, and then come back over here and then start again on this side, what's going to happen, I'm going to be spraying fresh lacquer into lacquer that's drying. You know what happens?
Yes.
It's going to get overspray, and we don't want that. So what I'm going to do, I'm literally going to work a circle starting at the top and working my way down so that I'm always having a wet edge.
The other thing, too, notice that he's shaking it all the time. Once he shook it, he's continuing to shake it. And look how fast he's working, so that way he has that wet edge the whole time as he's working. Are you getting dizzy yet, Jane?
Yes, it's like the merry-go-round. It's one of those. But you see, I'm constantly moving the pen.
I love the color of this little
I do
Walmart
too.
table. It's going to be so cute. Put a little vase of flowers on it. The other thing, notice, guys, that you're not going to cover it all completely up. You've got some of that first coat bleeding through. That's okay. This is all you want to be able to get on this first pass
If you get too
of your
much,
lacquer.
If you get too much on a vertical surface, we're going to end up with the lacquer.
With overspray. And the other thing is being able to control the air. You see that we've got complete air control in here. So that way we're not outside. It's not in a real windy area. We've got March coming up. You cannot spray outside in March. You need to be able to make a spray booth in your garage to be able to do this, and even put up the cardboard so it's safe. All right, I'm intoxicated, Jen.
There's a question. What if you want to change the color? Like if you want to paint it blue, can you just paint right over it?
You want to, depending on how long it's been, you may want to clean it with the clean slate first, get all the grease, grime, oil off, and then lightly sand it. and then we start spraying with a different color.
All right, so Gene, walk us through. This is gonna dry. How long do we need to let this dry?
You know, the longer you let it dry, the better. If you can let it dry an hour, great. If you can let it dry 2 hours, great, because it'll sand easier the longer it has to dry. I would like to let that sit at minimum 30 minutes, but if an hour is optimum. And then I'm gonna take my 320 grit or my 400 grit sandpaper. I'm gonna lightly sand. Every time I sand, I'm leveling that lacquer so the next coat goes on even smoother. And I'll put probably at least 1 to 2 more coats on that. And it'll be ready. And again, once you get through lightly sanding, be sure to wipe the residue off before you start spraying.
Now, because this is a dream table too, we need to make sure that we seal it with Bright Idea.
The Bright Idea you can use, which the benefit of the Bright Idea, which is clear lacquer, it gives more depth to your finish. So if you think about the more expensive automobiles, why the paint of a Mercedes looks much nicer than the paint on
another car,
because they put more clear coats on, and it's a much deeper finish. And the same thing, you can put 1 coat of clear on this and gives it
Really
much more
pops.
depth.
We have more questions. So can you lacquer over a painted and wax piece? And also, can you put the Bright Idea as a sealer on a painted and wax piece?
You have to remove the wax first. Remember, wax is the enemy to adhesion. So you have to use the clean slate, get that wax off before you do anything, because it will prevent adhesion of any paint or lacquer. Once you've got that off, again, you want to go in and sand. Sand is to smooth out before you lacquer, whether it's clear lacquer or whether it's a colored lacquer.
The other thing is, I probably would not use the Bright Idea on a finish that had been brushed on. They're 2 totally different finishes. That's why we're trying to teach you a repertoire of finishes, so you can lacquer some, you can use the 1-step on some, you can have a milk paint on another. All of those kind of go together as far as your interior design in your room having a lot of interest. This is a totally different execution, and it's really best to have the color sprayed on and come back with this. So, all right, so for you weekend warriors, when you're gonna be working on something, if you don't have a beautiful, thank you so much, Jane.
And be sure as this dries, show them that even though we still need another coat, how glossy it's.
Yes, it's beautiful. I love lacquer. I mean, I love milk paint. I love 1-step paint. I love it all, but I love lacquer. I love how the sheen to it. I love how easy it is. I love that it looks very professional. I love how it can take a piece and really transform it very easily. It's different. Working with the lacquer is totally different. You are going to have to sand in between coats. You're going to have to layer the coats. The more you layer, the more thin coats you put on, the more beautiful the finish you're going to have, and you're going to enjoy it for years to come. So you're going to make sure always clean your projects with clean slate. Get all the surfactants, the wax, the liquid gold, all that type thing off of your surface, and then make sure you have a nice smooth surface before you begin. And then you're going to prime it. You'll use your color, and then you'll have your Bright Idea to be able to seal it.
You want to tell them the winner?
Yes, we also want to tell the winner that wins the lacquer this week. The lacquer kit that we've put together is Clarabelle Sanchez. Congratulations, Clarabelle. Thank you so much for tuning in. Now, next week we're going to be going over cracked patina, which there again is using our 1-step paint with our cracked patina product, that it allows you to be able to have texture and a lot of depth. Totally different look than working with the lacquer. That's why you see the versatility of the Amy Howard at Home line and how much fun it can be. Thanks for tuning in for this Finish Friday. I hope this gets you excited about what pieces you're going to go and hunt for at estate sales, garage sales, and tax sales this weekend. Till next time, bye guys.